So this is episode 3 of the restoration of George, the 1974 3-door Honda Civic. I have to excuse the noise in the background, it's raining very heavily up here in the Derbyshire Dales, and I'm just going to give you a quick walk around and see where we've got up to since the last update, which I think we were about to take the engine out of the car. So I say we, it's just me. Yeah, anyway, so here we are, and surprise surprise, the engine is no more. So that came out fairly easily. No engine crane. Took the engine out with the gearbox, just lifted it directly under the car, separated the box off, and started to, well, I'd hoped to breathe some new life into that engine, but unfortunately it is toast. Now there's the gearbox, so that's the manually shifting 2-speed Honda-matic gearbox. You'll see the backing plate for the torque converters there. The torque converter's over in a bucket, still gently weeping a little bit of transmission oil. So I've just been basically stacking and keeping everything together. On top of the car, you'll see here, there's the camshaft, which actually looks quite good. I'm hoping that can be cleaned up, and the rocker arms, everything's pretty seized, but I'm hoping that a good hot bath, take that to pieces and get it all reassembled, that will do the job. You might see inside of that tub that I've got everything labelled up. All the bolts are all labelled up in separate bags. Mentioned in the last video, don't really want to go there again. I've done it in the past and just assume that everything will go back together. Seldom the reality. You might just see here, I went to see the 634 Yoda yesterday, that's Jay, and he's basically, this is the first section of one of the repair panels for this wing, and you can see how it's a Honda part, so it just works. So I'm just going to point here. So obviously this part has got to go in. Just going to walk around the other side so you can see what it should look like. So this is going to be cut out, but you'll see that one repair section is here, and then the next section that is due to go in is this section here. Anything else, I will just cut some steel and weld that in. So yeah, that will be done over the winter. I'm probably going to tackle the shell as a whole and spend a few weekends just doing the whole car, but you'll see it's as per the last video, it's not rusted away in a week, which is good to know. Just quickly go around the back, try and avoid the rain. So I took the number plate holder off, which is which was used. It's a plate that holds the number plate in the UK. So basically just here you'd normally have the lights at the sides here, whereas on the UK ones, on the early cars, the lights are just above here. So I'm going to look to convert this at some point, but you can see behind that the panel's in fantastic condition. I've actually taken some of the interior plastics off to look inside, and the back of the panels are really good. There's a shot of the inside. That's the expansion tank overflow bottle, which was absolutely full of sludge because of the head gasket failing on the old engine. Speaking of the old engine, let's go and take a look at that. Before, my new collection of random EB1 front suspension, which I'm hoping to still find some replacement struts just to get the car back on the road. I'm going to go for the BC coilovers at a later date, but at the moment I just really would like to get the car back on the road and running again, so that's something for another day. There's a torque converter, and there's all the oil and sludge and coolant that came out of the engine, sadly, which pretty much killed the old crankshaft, and we'll get to that. So this is my old block. All 4 pistons are absolutely seized. We've had them on a press, used block, you know, the whole trick of pouring diesel down there and WD and letting it soak and hitting it with a block. These pistons are seized. The barrels are shot. The water galleries are shot. Sadly, it can't be saved. So, speaking of that trip to see 634 Yoda, which is now Jay's new name, he has supplied me with a very nice block. And it turns, and it's lovely. And that's going to get stripped down, new bearings, we're going to check the clearance, probably go for a 0.25 rebore on that, some new pistons and rings, and just give it a general spruce up. But it looks in very good order compared to my block. Now my block, it turns out from a bit of sleuthing work that this just sat. They took the head off when the head gasket failed in '87. Let me just show you this. This is a tax disc from hopefully that will focus, from 1987 in the UK, and that's the last time it was on the road. So the heads came off the block in 87. Obviously it was a catastrophic failure of the gasket, and the car was packed up and left, and as I've mentioned before, the owner died shortly after that, so the car was never repaired. So unfortunately that means that the head is in a pretty poor state, but the block is shot. The block is completely shot. It sat with coolant in it for 32 years. The other thing that really put me off was, you'll see that this crank on the top here, so the cam belt was changed. I know it's been changed because it's bizarrely a Supra Automotive by Uniroyal cam belt, so that was changed at some point. The person that did it has managed to basically smash 7 bells out of everything on this engine. There's a couple of teeth missing on the cam pulley, the crank pulley. Just have a look at this oil pan gasket. There was so much silicone in the bottom of the engine, it's a wonder it ran at all. It's absolutely caked. They must have used a full tube of silicone on this one rubber seal. It's absolutely ridiculous. You'll see here, whoever took the head off managed to pull it. This is never going to focus, but I can assure you that the top of this oil spreader, which goes to the camshaft, it looks like it's been chiselled out of place. Now that's completely killed it. And you'll see here, that collar here that I'm pointing to, that's supposed to slide up and down. Make your own jokes on that shaft. So here's one that I've got that Jay has kindly supplied. I wish this camera would focus, but anyway. So yeah, very nice. That will be part of the rebuilt head. Speaking of the head, here's the head. Again, you'll see it's very furry. A couple of the valves were stuck. 2 of the plugs are still in there, 1 is out, and one of the plugs here, you'll see that there's a bit of the spark plug still left in there. The spark plug isn't there, it's just the actual contact point. So this might need helicoiled. I'm certainly going to get it skimmed and cleaned up. Again, this will go in a hot bath. Not a hot bath in the bathroom, that would be strange, in an engineering solution, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So this will get cleaned up, and we'll see what the damage is. If this is not restorable, then obviously we'll have to look at getting a new head. Really disappointing. I like to keep as much of this original engine as possible, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. More genuine Honda parts from 634 Yoda, which is a charcoal canister. Some new old stock. So it's just fantastic to see that kind of stuff now. Nice pair of worn out bearing shells as a pair. Lots. And this main seal, sorry, point the camera at it, not in the best condition, not exactly supple. So again, it's disappointing, that the crank and the bottom end of the engine is dead, but thankfully got another EB1 block that looks, massively better than the one that I've got. And that's it really. I think that the plan now is just to carry on stripping the car down. I really wanted to get to the bottom of the engine and work out what I need to collect in terms of parts, and I think I've got to that point now. The bodywork assessment's carrying on, but again, I've been over this car now. I can't really find a great deal of issues. The next big thing is getting the fuel tank out, and apparently there's a fuel line that runs between the tank and the engine bay that, if the cars are left stood, completely fur and block up. So that's going to be the next challenge, I suspect. So the next video will hopefully be me tackling the fuel system and getting the rear shocks and the rear brakes out. Again, if you've got any questions, fire away. But I think that's just about it for now. And again, that block, never mind, it wasn't to be. But hopefully that new block, with a nicely cleaned up head, and we'll have an engine that's going to last a good few years. And I'll catch you on the next video.